Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, in this lesson, we're going to be speaking about the sixth type of noun, which is mansub, which is the mustathna. So the mustathna is ismun yaka'u ba'da adat istithna'in. The mustathna is a noun that will come after one of the elements from the elements that create an exception. So in the Arabic language, there are many different ways to say except. There are many different ways to say except. I need to make an exception. One of them, if not the main one, I should say, is illa. Illa is adat istithna, is one of the elements of creating an exception, and it means except. So, جاء الطلاب, the students came, illa, except خالدا. خالدا. Why is خالدا mansub? Because the mustathna. Why? Because it is an ism. It's mansub, of course, and it's coming after illa, which is one of the elements that create an exception. Actually, it's the main one. Illa is the main one. So جاء الطلاب إلا, the students came except Khalid, then Khalid is mustathna, and that's why it's mansub. So anytime you're going to see a noun after illa, that noun is going to be mansub if it fulfills certain conditions that we're going to talk about. If it fulfills certain conditions that we're going to talk about. So this concept of a mustathna is the hardest one to understand from the mansubat, from nouns that are mansub. The mustathna is the hardest one to understand, the one that takes the most time to really master. But inshallah, in this video, we'll take it step by step. So let's break down this sentence here a bit more. So arkanuhu, the pillars that any single sentence that has istithna, any single sentence that has an exception will be made up of at least three pillars, and it will have these three things. It's going to have a mustathna min, adatu istithna is going to have the actual article of creating an exception, and it's going to have the mustathna, the thing that is being accepted, or the thing that's being, exempted, that's being taken out of the rest. So جاء الطلاب إلا خالدا, the students came إلا except خالدا. So the noun that comes after the adat istithna, the element that creates an exception, which is usually translated as except, the noun that comes after it is going to be called the mustathna. You see in red. It's the noun that's being accepted. But the noun that comes before the adat istithna is going to be called the mustathna min, the one that is being exempted from, or the one that the mustathna is being exempted from. So the students came. Okay, part of those students is Khalid, but Khalid is being exempted from those students because he did not come. So the mustathna is a noun that comes after illa or any of the other adat istithna which we're going to cover, and the mustathna min, the thing that is being the mustathna is being exempted from, that word is going to come before the adat istithna. So جاء الطلاب, the students came, illa except Khalidan. Khalidan is the mustathna, is going to be mansub. The mustathna min, it doesn't matter what its i'rab is. I'rab can be many different things, but it doesn't have any effect on the word mustathna in terms of its i'rab. So that is the three different pillars that the istithna is always going to be made up of. Now, what I want to talk about now is the different types of elements that create an exception. So the different types of elements that create an exception can be broken down into three different categories. We have a harf, which is illa. Then we have four different nouns, which is ghayru, siwa, suwa, and sawa. And all of these can be just translated as except. And then we have af'al / huruf, so either verbs or particles, depending on what the sentence necessitates, and this will be explained in later videos. So khara, ada, hasha, these three words here can sometimes be treated as verbs, af'al, and they can sometimes be treated as huruf, particles. And this will be explained in later videos. So all of these all create an exception, and they're all going to be translated in English as except, but they're going to function differently in terms of their grammar and how they're going to affect the word that comes after it, and so on and so forth. Now, we're not going to speak about this in the first part. In the second part, we're going to break down how illa functions, which is the one harf. And then in part 3, we're going to break down how these four nouns here function. And then we're also going to break down how these three words here also function. So what I want people to remember in this video is when you have adat istithna, whether it be illa or any of these other ones here, it's going to be made up of three parts. Okay, when you have istithna, you're going to have the adat istithna, like illa, for example. The word that comes before it is going to be called the mustathna min, and the word that comes after is going to be called the mustathna. The mustathna is going to be mansub most of the time, as we're going to cover. And that is why it is considered one of the mansubat, one of the nouns that is mansub.